and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, April 27th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, ready to break down another quadruple header. This has been a great weekend for playoff hockey. That's why the first round's my favorite, because only in the first round do you get these quadruple headers on weekends. Day and night hockey, and we've got another one lined up today. We'll break down every game in just a moment. We'll look back on Saturday. We're going to start, though, with a little, not NHL breaking news, but Ice Guys show breaking news. Let's roll the bump.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
Our next live betcast date, we are ready to announce it here. We are set on our next betcast date. We're going to keep it the same day of the week as last week. We will be back with you again on a Thursday. That's right, Thursday, May the 1st. May Day, May Day, May Day, as Rick Jenneret once said. I think that's what they call May 1st, May Day, but there you go. May 1st, this week will be our next Patreon, and again, it is a Patreon exclusive, a live betcast, Thursday, May the 1st. Start time to be determined. Normally we know this ahead of time, but there are no times announced yet for the Thursday games. And we know there's two guaranteed, and that's what we were waiting on. You know, we want to make sure, we wanted to have the betcast Thursday again, but we wanted to make sure that there's games. Obviously. But now we know that there's going to be at least two games on Thursday. There's going to be Game 6 with Vegas and Minnesota and Game 6 with Dallas and Colorado. Those are the two series guaranteed to have a Game 6. Toronto-Ottawa could be a Game 6 if Ottawa can win Game 5 on Tuesday. But we got two at least guaranteed for Thursday. And I should point out, there's a decent chance this is a later starting betcast, because there may not be an early game on Thursday, May the 1st. So keep that in mind. We could be looking at 8 p.m., 8:30 p.m. Eastern, depending on when they might move up one of the West games. Depends on if there's going to be, because there's only one game from the Eastern Conference that could play Thursday night, and that's the Battle of Ontario. So very important to point out, we could be starting a little bit later because the first game of the night could be later. But either way, it'll be Thursday, May 1st, time to be determined.
Well, and chances are, you said it'd be Minnesota and Vegas Game 6, which would be back here in Minnesota. They might make that an early game if there's only two games. That wouldn't shock me, especially with how everybody was up in arms about the late start in Vegas. I could see that happening. So, but like I said, we'll keep everyone updated and post that, of course, on Patreon and Twitter, and we'll mention it on the show as well once we do find out.
My guess, because the Game 6 would be in Colorado, not the Pacific, they'd be in the Mountain Time Zone. My guess is they'll do either a 7 and 9:30 Eastern or a 7:30 and 10 Eastern type of deal. That's probably exactly what we'll be looking if it's just those two games on Thursday night. So either way, anyway, time to be determined. Maybe it is still 7 p.m. Eastern. Who the hell knows? But time will be determined is the bottom line, and we'll know more certainly later in the week. But it will be Thursday night, May the 1st, our next Patreon exclusive live betcast. So make sure you sign up, patreon.com/iceguys. $10 per month. Get on board before Thursday and enjoy all the other benefits, the live chat room, the live wagering chat room. Alex and I have been involved with that quite a bit here in the playoffs. And of course, the daily betting card. Sides, totals, player props posted each and every day. All right, yesterday was a huge wall-to-wall day of hockey. It started with Tampa Bay and Florida. And finally, in the Battle of Florida, the intensity ratcheted up by the time we got late into that second period. And even the first period and most of the second, it was like they were playing a regular season game. But then finally the animosity got ratcheted up. We finally started to see some ill will between the two teams. The oven started to boil, as I was saying to Alex. And that's what you want to see. We started to see some of that, intensity, some of that physicality and bad blood, between the Lightning and the Panthers. And shout out to the Lightning. Just when you think they're done, here they are with a phenomenal road win yesterday against the Florida Panthers. Started off, 1-0. They give up a goal so quickly, and that was all they would give up. 5 unanswered goals after that to take a commanding 5-1 win in Game 3 and get back in the series 2-1. Of course, things got nasty at the end. Matthew Tkachuk's hit in the open ice on Jake Gensel that shook him up. It led to a 5-minute major to Tkachuk late in the game. And we just heard earlier this morning from Elliot Friedman and other reporters that the players player safety department decided on no suspension for Matthew Tkachuk, and I'm okay with that. I thought the 5 minutes took care of it. I've seen worse. There was no head contact. Gensel touched the puck. Now it was definitely late, but he touched the puck before Tkachuk delivered that hit. Still late, but he touched the puck at least. It's not like the puck was never in the area where Gensel was, right before that hit. It was not to the head. It was late. It was very hard and vicious, but I'm okay with no suspension for Matthew Tkachuk. And I know the Lightning fans are frustrated because they feel there's a bias toward Florida because their guy, Brandon Hagel, got suspended for 1 game for his hit on Alexander Barkov. It's an apples and oranges comparison, in my opinion. 2 different things. I think that one was a little bit worse, and Tkachuk and Gensel not so much. No head contact, so I'm okay with that. So Tkachuk will play Game 4, and obviously Hagel is going to be back from his 1-game suspension in Game 4. So that'll be an interesting development. But we have a series now, which is great. You would hate to see this series just disintegrate into nothing and Florida just run away with it. But now it's 2-1. Tampa feels, we're back in it. We got a chance again. And more importantly, I think both Alex and I have this series to go 6-7 with our split bets. So we need a long series here in the Battle of Florida.
Yeah.
We expected a long series, and we may yet still get it. And look, Gensel and the best players for Tampa stepped up. Really, it was that simple. And defensively, and Vasilevsky was great after giving up the early goal. That's the Vasi they need moving forward. And a big win there for the Tampa Bay Lightning in that one. Vegas, Minnesota, highly entertaining game. It really was. Back and forth it went. Vegas answered early. Minnesota responded. I understand Minnesota fans being upset with the tying goal from Hertl. Hertl should have gotten an interference penalty there in front of the net. It was just a horrible miss, terrible non-call. I get why they're upset with that. But nevertheless, we saw Vegas tie it, and they answered, obviously, the Minnesota, or took the lead, I should say, on that goal. But Jared Spurgeon answered, tied it up. We went to overtime, and then just, unfortunately, comedy of errors and, looked like a blooper reel for poor Jacob Middleton in front of the net on that game-winning goal by close shave Barbashev for the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, he just couldn't find the puck. He's rumbling, bumbling, and stumbling in front of the net, as Chris Berman would say. Like I said, unfortunate time for that to happen. You lose your balance, you fall down, you lose track of the puck, and there's Vegas and Ivan Barbashev to put it home for the game winner. Vegas did step it up, and we were talking Jack Eichel in particular. You got to step it up, and he did. He was shooting the puck a lot. He was noticeable. He was making it happen in the offensive zone. And the Vegas Golden Knights get a very vital win to really swing momentum back in their favor now, because now it's 2-2. They got home ice back on their side, heading back to T-Mobile Arena in Vegas there for Game 5 coming up. But, Alex, that was definitely, in my opinion, one of the best games of the day. It was very entertaining. Back and forth it went. And Vegas somehow pulls it. Minnesota, though, did not make it easy. And even in the loss, Minnesota accredited themselves very well. And the more I look at this series, the more I think it's got 7 games written all over it.
Yeah, I mean, well, it was quite obviously clear that, Jack Eichel went in that locker room and rallied the troops and said, "Hey, I got to come back and get my beer for Game 6." So, jokes aside, that was a great effort by the team.
Right, he will be back in Mini.
Yep. He will be back. He will be back here in St. Paul for Game 6. But it was just a great effort by that team. Like I said, questionable calls, but you're gonna have that in every game. You're gonna have that go in the swing of both teams throughout a series. So you can, like I said, they could have bitched all day and moaned all day about that Hertl call, and then let the game slip away, and Vegas goes on to win 5-3, 6-3. They didn't do that. They straightened up. They were able to focus and got right back on the attack. And like I said, getting that goal by Spurgeon. Spurgeon, he doesn't score goals often, but when he does, it's always in a big time spot. I remember years ago him scoring a big overtime goal. He scored a lot of key goals when he does get one, and that was huge. Brought them right back into that game, and even in overtime, Minnesota had most of the pace. I was nervous. As somebody who had ended up betting Vegas live, I grabbed the plus 160 at one point in the middle of the game. And it just seemed like Minnesota was really going to kind of get it in OT. And like I said, you have this calamity of errors with Middleton. and then it was a pinball goal. It hit like 5 different things off of a pad, off his skate, then off the barbershop stick, and then it goes in the back of the net. And that's a tough way to lose a home game. Like I said, now it's a best-of-3 series. Vegas regains home ice. This might be a little bit tougher climbing for Minnesota, but like I said, we've seen them do it in game 2. They can take that same effort from game 2 and copy paste it to game 5. Then yeah, this one might go 6-7, and we're in for some good hockey out of the way.
No doubt. We turn to the night games. Battle of Ontario. No sweep in the first round. The only series that had a chance of ending in a sweep was Toronto-Ottawa, but the Senators avoid that fate, and they get themselves an overtime win, 4-3 over the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know what's crazy about this series? You could make a decent argument that was Toronto's best game of the series, and yet it's the one and only game they've lost so far in this series. Pretty crazy, but I don't think the one problem for Toronto was, I think it was the team's best game possibly. Outside of game 1, actually, I should say. Game 1 was still their best game, where they just made mincemeat of the Ottawa penalty kill. But I thought they were better last night than game 2 and game 3, which they won. The problem was, I don't think Anthony Stolarz was nearly as good. This was probably his worst game of the series. The second goal is what stands out, the Shane Pinto short-handed goal. I mean, right through the legs. You'd like to see him stop that. It's probably the one bad goal he's given up in this series. It's been weird that Toronto has really suffocated Ottawa, and yet the couple of shots Ottawa's had, third periods of these games, they found a way to score. The Perron goal, last night, a couple others, and it got to overtime. And boy, in a series that Toronto had dominated special teams in game 1, game 2, and game 3, what a time for Ottawa to turn the tables. They were the better special teams squad last night. That was really the major difference. Their power play got rolling. They finally shut down Toronto's power play, especially at the most important critical moment with that 4-minute power play in overtime, where Ottawa was able to kill it off. And the moment that happened, I probably should have bet Ottawa, because it kind of felt like they were going to win after that. Such a huge momentum swinging to their side, killing off that double minor. I didn't. But sure enough, Jake Sanderson, seeing eye shot from the point. That one, no chance for Stolarz. And back to Toronto we go, game 5. Toronto's the better team still. I think they're going to win this series, but I will warn Leaf fans, you are now 1-12 in series clinching games now since 2018, which is a horrific record. I think this team's different. They got the coach now to not allow that to happen. But I will say this right now, get your rest, because I think the Leafs did look a little tired. In OT, you're going to have 2 days off for the first time. You're not back in action until Tuesday with game 5. If you don't win game 5 in Toronto, that sphincter is going to start to come out. And that sphincter that's been around there multiple years in Leafs playoff past. Get it done in game 5. Don't fucking stress going back to Ottawa for game 6 and the pressure ratcheting, because that's the moment the pressure shifts to Toronto. Is that if this gets back to Ottawa for game 6, and if it ever gets to game 7, the pressure's on, obviously, if it gets that far. And it ain't this young, spunky Ottawa group, I'll tell you that. So that's going to be big for Toronto. Finish the deal in game 5, put it to bed, and get on to the second round. We'll see if they can do that. And then the late game last night, we saw Dallas, Colorado. I think a situation where, look, that could have been 8-0 if not for Jake Ottinger. That was a pretty wretched performance from Dallas, but predictable. I thought Colorado, it was a potential smash spot for the Colorado Avalanche after losing in overtime to Dallas, knowing they can't go down 3-1, losing 2 home games in a row in that great home ice that they have. It felt like it was hard to truly think Dallas was going to win both games there in Denver. They got the split they needed. But boy, I still expected a little bit better from Dallas than that. I did think Colorado would play a great game, but to the tune of 48-18 in shots at one point, and just Ottinger being hung out to dry in that second period, which was just an abomination for the Dallas Stars. That's if you're ever going to give a player a first star of the game and player of the game on a team that lost 4-0 last night's the night you would do it, and you'd give it to Jake. I couldn't believe how great Jake Ottinger was. Some of the saves were insane, just incredible goaltending, or else that's 8-0. Maybe for the Colorado Avalanche last night, but they were all over it. And I was all over it, saying Gabe Landeskog would get his first goal back since returning to the NHL last night, plus 320, one of 2 bargain bin specials that cashed for me, Marcus Foligno, for Minnesota being the other in the earlier game at plus 750. Dominance from the Colorado Avalanche. I don't mind DeBoer doing what he did. People are saying, well, the only reason they were in the game was Ottinger. Why are you pulling him? Give him some rest. I think he knew, you know what, you guys clearly are showing you don't want to win this game and you're not playing well enough to win this game. Out you go. You need some rest anyway. Get you ready for game 5. I don't have no issues with him putting DeSmith in. I know that was a discussion point on the broadcast, but I'm okay with that. Give him some rest. They were playing lousy in front of him. He's the only reason it wasn't worse than 3-0 after the second period. Just, give him a rest. To put DeSmith in, I'm okay with Peter DeBoer's rationale behind doing that. Alex, your thoughts on the night games?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a good back and forth game with Ottawa and Toronto, and I'm right there with you. I left money on the table there with first in regulation. I should have taken Shane Pinto to score. I had him last game. Don't know why I didn't run it back. We always talk about that whenever we have bargain bins or just players we like to score a goal. They go cold one night. You got to run right back to them sometimes. So I won't make that mistake for game 5. But also, they said that huge penalty killing off that 4-minute double minor in overtime. That just it should have been a slam dunk. We go run bet Ottawa. They were minus $1.10 too at that point at BetMGM. So it seemed like I said all the momentum went that way. Great home crowd too. And even though, like I said, we talked about how that's not the biggest home crowd edge, it definitely seemed like there was more red and black, and they were a lot louder in game 4 than game 3. No, and you usually don't see that when it's a chance for a sweep at home. I know. I remember being here when the Hawks swept the Wild. There were a lot of empty seats because people didn't want to see it. So it was good on the Ottawa fans to show up, and they were loud and noticeable throughout that game and give them some momentum. Because, like you said, now that we're talking about it, everybody in the world is going to be talking about this 1-12, 1-12. Toronto has to finally show the killer instinct that they haven't been able to show in quite some time. We talk about all this change with the Maple Leafs, and we've seen it. Okay, they have the number one goalie, Anthony Stolarz. I'm so impressed by him, period by period.
Yeah.
And I think back to I was talking to my mom watching part of that game, and I was talking back to and I was saying just watch how he plays and where he positions himself.
Yeah.
And I was telling about in Edmonton and Philly, this guy, we didn't think this guy was going to be somebody where he's one of the best goalies in the playoffs. He's a guy where we can run and bet the consignments that he's going to be the X factor to take a team as far as they can go in the postseason. It's incredible to watch. So, that's always a fun thing. But in having that and in saying that they have to now put it together and play this they have to play every closeout game like a game 7 because of the history. You can't afford to have, especially at home. You have to just round it up and say, listen, this is part of the new deal. If we're going to be a team that wins in April and May, we have to close out a series, and so they got to do it. They got to do it big. You can't have another overtime, and I'm hoping that there won't be another overtime because I bet 3 overtimes in this series. I already got that, so I don't need a 4th one. But neither does Toronto at this point. They need to be as dominant as they were at the beginning of the series and shut things down. And then with Colorado and Dallas, happy to see that result. As somebody who bet the 6-game, 7-game stack, I don't have to touch a side for the rest of the series now. I can just kind of look at totals and props and things of that nature because I'll be cashing with whoever wins the series at this point. It has to go 6, could go 7. So, like I said, great to see Gabe Landeskog. 1,041 days between goals. And to do that in front of the home crowd and like I said, also getting an assist as well, getting the number 1 star of the game, that had to just be a wonderful moment. Even what Nathan McKinnon said, in the post-game conference when he was being interviewed in the locker room. And he said that was not just a team goal, that was a life goal for him, and a real big time goal for that whole group. Those guys really love him, and Nathan McKinnon has been his teammate for as long as he's been there. So that you just know. We talked about that. We said just like having him skate around in game 2. Okay, yeah, right. He's not going to play in the game, but just the energy he provides to his teammates. That means so much at this time of year. It may not mean shit if it's mid-February, but when it's April and May, it means that much more.
Yeah, it was a great moment. I'm sure even Dallas Stars fans and just any fans of other teams around the league, it was really cool to see that last night. Landeskog getting on the board. It's been such a long, there's a time we didn't even think he'd play again. And over the last 3 years, we were wondering, is he ever going to play in another NHL game? And to see him finally, after over 3 years get back on the ice and score a goal.
And be
night was a
physical.
great moment. Yeah, he
We
was.
haven't talked about that. He's been physical in all these games too. It's not like he's avoiding contact, playing scared, and he'd
He's
have every
playing
right.
the game, which has always included physicality. Yep.
He would have every right to play scared if he did because of the injuries and what he's gone through and how long it took him to get back in there. But no, he's right back to his game, and that's wonderful to see.
It is, no doubt. It's not like he's doing only part of what he used to be able to do. That's what's great about it. No doubt. Excellent point for sure. All right, let's get into Sunday's games. We got a quad header. Let's jump right in. This one starts in about half hour from now. Winnipeg, St. Louis. A little surprised they didn't do it the other way around. Carolina, New Jersey, the first game, then Winnipeg, St. Louis. You got the game further west starting earlier. It's kind of weird, but nevertheless, that's what it is. It's a noon start time locally. In St. Louis, we've got the Jets minus 130, road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Now, we know St. Louis had a great finish to the season, and we knew this was going to be a team that had the potential to give Winnipeg a tough series. But this is a really, really good Winnipeg Jets team still. And yes, they got blown out in Game 3, 7-2 by the St. Louis Blues. St. Louis, I figured that was their spot to really have a great game. And if I didn't think they'd have that much of a commanding win, but they sure did. They were the best team from the beginning in Game 3. Now, after a loss like that, and look, the Winnipeg Jets haven't had many losses like that this season. You'd expect Winnipeg to have the response here early in this game, even with this being on the road when you lose 7-2 in the fashion they did. Like, they were bombed in the first period, 30 hits from the Blues. The Blues jumped out with that quick early 3-0 lead after the first period and never really looked back from there. But you look at this Winnipeg Jets team, and there's a couple things that stand out, in terms of really, really bad losses. I think one of their worst losses all year, looking back on it, was 5-0 loss to the champions, the Florida Panthers. Then they played Florida again, and they won the next game, 6-3. There's a game where they lost at home to Columbus, 4-1, and they beat Boston the next game, 8-1. There's not a lot of truly ugly losses on the Winnipeg Jets resume this season, but the couple of, uglier defeats that they've had, the response has been pretty good. You'd expect that here from the Winnipeg Jets. I like Winnipeg goal in the first period, which is minus 140. That angle's been great. It's now 14-5 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The team that lost the previous game in the series, scoring the first goal, or scoring a goal, I should say, in the first period, that's now 14-5. Jets to score in the first period, I like it at minus 140. I'm on the first period over, which is 3-0. So far in this series, all 3 games have gone over in the first period, but I'm not on the full game over. We're going to maybe think that this could slow down a little bit later on in the game after that frenetic start. 3-0 first period overs in this series. We're on that. We're on Winnipeg to score in the first period, minus 140. Draw, I think we're due for an overtime game. I could see that. And I'm also going to take, because of Hellebuck's dubious road numbers, and this is troubling now. Going back to the Colorado series last year, Vegas in the first round the year before, the road numbers for Hellebuck are, they're worrisome. And for that reason, Alex, I'm taking Blues team total at a cheap 2.5 even money. I'm going to take a shot with that here because Hellebuck has not had a very, very strong, dominant, commanding road performance in the Stanley Cup playoffs in some time. Obviously, he got lit up in Game 3 the other night. He didn't play well in Colorado. They lit him up last year in the first round. 2 years ago, his performances at T-Mobile against Vegas were less than stellar. So at 2.5, give me the Blues team. It's a weird approach here. We got a little Jets first period goal, Blues full game team total, first period over, and draw. That's the playoffs, though. You got to have a script in mind. You got to have a flow in mind, and that's my game flow that I've got in mind for Game 4 here. Jets and Blues. Alex, what do you think here? Winnipeg, St. Louis.
Yeah, because you're grabbing the team total, you don't really have to bet the over pregame. You could look for full game over in game, especially I was laughing because I'm looking at the prices on BetStep and I see this Rogue 5 minus 154 at FanDuel. And I'm like, okay, so that's going to just turn the 4.5 in 30 seconds in the contest most likely. But this is a game where I do like that first period over. I expect to see the same kind of frenetic pace we've seen so far to start. but definitely could see it kind of slamming on the brakes. So I'll play that team total for the Blues a little smaller. If we get like a 2-2 first period, then I'd probably be looking at one of these unders with the 8.5, 9.5. I don't see this game going just absolutely balls to the wall, haywire. Just 8-7, 6-7 kind of a contest. So we'll expect to see some kind of slow down in the second period. Second period unders have been the key here. We were talking about that in our group chat, where this has been a series where a lot of the second periods have kind of slowed down. So first period over for sure. I'm in on that. Small on St. Louis team total, like you mentioned, because Hellebuck on the road, he still got to tighten it up. And if this happens to be, like I said, a heavy first period of goals, 2-1, 2-2, then maybe look for a live under.
That's a good approach. I agree with that. There are a bunch of props here that I like in this game. Cam Fowler to get a point. So you could either take, you might as well just take him to get a point because he's been a point producing machine for the Blues. This goes back to the regular season too, when he was starting to really chip in from the blue line. But he's gotten a point in every game in this series. The same goes with Pavel Buchnevich for St. Louis. They've had a point in every game. So you could either bet them individually to get a point, or you could just split it, goal and an assist. It's the same thing as betting a player to get a point. You just bet a goal and an assist for that player. So either way, it works. I do that for the players that are laying like minus 200 with their point prop.
Right.
It's, that's when you want to split it. Bet goal, bet assist. It's the same thing, no question. But Fowler's been, dynamite from the blue line, generating some offensive production. So I can't argue with that. For me, it would be a Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor type of day. Those are the guys that have to get it going offensively. Connor's had a bunch of chances. Scheifele as well. I think he was not great in Game 3. I think he can step it up. And I like Adam Lowry, the captain. The captain, he's a great captain for a reason. I expect him to have a hell of a game today. He's the captain of a team that just got their teeth kicked in 7-2 the other night against the St. Louis Blues. That guy is showing up to play. And he's had a bunch of chances, and the volume of shots has been higher than expected from him. So it's a Connor, Scheifele, Lowry if I'm taking 3 goal props that I like for Winnipeg. And the value for Lowry is off the charts, as high as plus 800 at Bet365 for Adam Lowry to score a goal. And I was saying to Jonathan, about Adam Lowry, this is a guy that you should be betting every game to score a goal, given his history of scoring in the postseason for the Winnipeg Jets. You don't have to hit it every game. You could hit it. You could cash once every 4 or 5 games with Adam Lowry to score a goal, even if he doesn't score in a few games, and you could probably still wind up being profitable, at the end of the playoffs because of the prices you're getting with Adam Lowry. He's always in that plus 500, 600, in this case, 800 range to score a goal. So that's why it's probably worth a shot. Yeah, Gabe Vilardi, I expect him to be back. He's the fact he as soon as I saw he was skating yesterday, I'm like, he's probably going to be back. The fact that it's the playoffs, they'll put him in. I expect him to play here in this game for the Winnipeg Jets. And more good news is that Dylan DeMello is also back in the lineup here for the Jets today, alongside Josh Morrissey on that top pair for the Jets. So Colin Miller comes out, and now you got your blue line intact here for the Jets. DeMello, Morrissey, Pionk, Sandberg, Stanley, and Shen. So everyone's intact right now for the Winnipeg Jets. So definitely looking forward to that. Hayden Fleury and Stanley out. Good call. Okay, there we go. So that's right off the top. So that's interesting move there. Zach Bolduc. Am I giving up on Zach Bolduc? I like Neighbors a little bit more. Won't you be my neighbor? I'm going to take Jimmy Snuggerud again. Jimmy Snuggerud's got a point. I would even take the point prop on Jimmy Snuggerud because he's gotten a point in 2 straight games now in this series, including the game against Winnipeg at home on Friday in Game 3. So maybe Jimmy Snuggerud might be worth a look here as well. All right, Carolina, New Jersey. We've got Carolina minus 180 road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Devils found a way. I'm amazed they did, because that blue line, which was already missing Luke Hughes and Brendan Dillon, and Johnny Kovacevic left that game as well. They were down to 5D in that game for a good chunk of it. And if he's out as well, that means Seamus Casey or Dennis Cholowski are going to come in if Kovacevic can't go. I think it should be Seamus Casey. And I know some Devils fans agree. I think he's got the higher upside. Cholowski's just been a guy that's been a minor leaguer bouncing around for years. Seamus Casey has some upside potential to be decent at this level long term. Still in development mode, but still, I'd give Seamus Casey a chance if I'm Sheldon Keefe, if Johnny Kovacevic can't suit up for the Devils in this game. But they gutted it out, and they didn't really they gutted it out in terms of the blue line situation, but they didn't gut it out on the flow of play in game 3. They were the better team. I mean, Freddie Anderson was the reason Carolina hung around in that game for as long as they did. It was one of the best games that Frederik Andersen's played in some time. But I would expect a Carolina response. Rod Brindamore said it. Hey, they deserved to win. We weren't very good tonight, he said. So he wasn't very impressed with the Hurricanes' effort. Maybe a little fat and happy syndrome, taking a 2-0 series lead. And that's been an issue with Carolina at times. Lack of that, put their foot down at times. I'd expect them to be better here this afternoon in this game. Of course, the angle is Carolina to score in the first period, which is 14-5 for the team that lost the previous game. So obviously I'm going to get involved there with Carolina goal in the first period. It's a little high price, -160, but I'm going to dabble in it small pregame, and we'll add more in-game if that price falls a little bit on Carolina to score a goal in the first period. I think they win. I do. I think they take a 3-1 series lead, but what I will do is we'll see if we can get Carolina in game at a better price at some point. We'll see if that happens. It's worth noting in this series, we have seen 3 games between the Hurricanes and the Devils now, and this has been a pretty heavy under series for the most part. When you look at it, we've had obviously 3 full game unders between these two teams. We've had one team being held to 2 goals or less in all 3 of these games. And we've also seen the first period under cash in all 3 of these games. So if you're believing in a series trend, we talked about it with the Winnipeg-St. Louis series where the first period, all 3 games have gone over. In this series, all 3 games have gone under when it comes to first period and also full games. So maybe you continue to ride it right now. And look at Freddie Andersen. The only concern with unders I had, Alex, in this series was Freddie Andersen's goaltending. Markstrom, I thought he could play well enough. But Freddie Andersen, I was worried about blowing up these unders because of his inconsistency. But if he plays like he did Friday in Game 3, I think goals probably are few and far between here once again between these two teams. But the only pregame move I've got is Carolina goal in the first period, and we'll do some in-game stuff. Stay tuned on the Patreon page. Check the Patreon page because you might see me moving on some stuff live here later in this game. Alex, what do you think here? Hurricanes, Devils.
Yeah, and I have to preface it as well, but pre-series, I had Carolina exact 4-1. So I need Carolina to win in this spot. What I'm looking at, though, is the same thing we've been rolling with New Jersey to score a goal in the first period. Like I said, no, Carolina that's following the trend of the team losing to score in the first. So I'll be doing both teams to score as a result of that because New Jersey, we've seen them come through the last couple of games getting a goal. I do expect Carolina to start off early too. So both teams to score in the first period, and then Carolina first goal of the first period. So Carolina gets on the board first, and New Jersey after. So we get plus 115 with that Carolina price. So that's how I'm playing that. Just first period looks, goal in the first period, first goal of the first period from Carolina, plus 115, and then both teams to score. That price is, if I was what I was trying to look for earlier, plus 200. There we go.
One of the best trends go. There's a lot of good shots on goal, red hot trends. We're going to get to Slavkovsky for Montreal coming up. Obviously, he's been just shooting the puck like crazy. Caulfield, you had a crazy shots on goal game against Washington the other night. Even though he fell short the other night, Kempe for the most part against Edmonton goes over his shots on goal. But in this series, it's Jesper Bratt. Jesper Bratt's gone over 2.5 shots on goal in every game in this series, 6 straight going back to the regular season, and still plus money for Jesper Bratt, over 2.5 shots on goal. So keep that in mind. Mercer, I was miffed that I didn't take Mercer in any form in Game 3. He got on the board for the New Jersey Devils with a goal in that game. So I'm going to do the point prop on Mercer is, I think, a pretty reasonable price. Yeah, plus 152. I mean, just for Mercer to get a point, I think there's some really good value with that going into this game. Timo Meyer's another shots on goal guy, especially on home ice to watch for the New Jersey Devils. Steph Nason, I kind of agree. You know, he had 2 shots on, or he's gone over his shot prop 2 in a row. It tells you that eventually I think the puck may go in for him. So this could be friend of Matty Robinson here, Texas fellow native there, Stefan Nason. Maybe he gets on the board for the Devils here. And by the way, we have 3-game point streak for Jesper Bratt. He scored a point in every game so far in this series for New Jersey. Of course, it's too expensive to bet him to get a point, but you can do the goal assist split instead. And Jarvis Aho and Gostisbehere for the Carolina Hurricanes enter this game on 2-game point streaks. And I'm still taking a shot again. It's like Adam Lowry of this series for me, this guy, Jordan Martinook for Carolina. He's not going to score every game, but if you bet him every game and he hits 1 out of every 4, finding the back of the net, it's going to be profitable. So Jordan Martinook, we're going back to that well once again here for Carolina to score a goal. All right, we turn to the night action here on this Sunday quadruple header. Washington, Montreal, Capitals -130, road favorites, 6 the total. Caps leading the series 2-1. The big update regarding the goaltending situation here. We saw Samuel Montembeault leave the game Friday night in Game 3. We saw Logan Thompson leave the game Friday night. Only one of those guys, it appears, is going to start. Looks like Logan Thompson avoided anything serious. He was on the ice this morning for the morning skate. It sure looks like he's good to go, and Logan Thompson will start Game 4 tonight in Montreal. That will not be the case, though, for Sam Montembeault. He is out at least for this game. The Canadiens have called up Caden Primo from Laval in the American Hockey League. He will back up Jakub Dobeš, who will get the start, his first NHL Stanley Cup playoff start tonight for the Montreal Canadiens. Now, we've all talked about with Dobeš, his propensity to give up the early goal. It's been noticeable. It's been there was actually the Toronto game he didn't when he started in the regular season. They lost 1-0, but he gave up that goal in overtime. It didn't come early, but so down the stretch he was a little better cleaning up the early goal, but still it's happened a lot. And you factor in that Washington too is off the loss to Montreal in Game 3, which had all kinds of physical shenanigans. The big scenes in the bench with Anderson and Wilson going at it. It was just an unbelievable environment, hell of a game, crazy environment, electric at the Bell Center. So Dobeš, after especially now having to face Washington coming off that loss Friday night, he's going to have to be strong, and he's going to have to be strong early because he's probably going to see the puck quite a bit early in this game. And unfortunately for Jakub Dobeš, he hasn't always been strong early in these games. So coming off the 6-3 loss, you would expect Washington to really throw a lot at this Montreal team. I definitely like first period over again with these two teams. I'm going to go over by Fecta on this one, but I like the first period over more. Dobeš has got some talent, and he's had some really great performances, but he's been also those moments where he's given up the early goal. It's put his team behind. He's been beaten high. Elevating the puck is kind of the books out on him, that teams are looking to elevate the puck now, shoot high, because Dobeš has a tendency to go down a little bit too early and often here for the Habs. So maybe Washington, I'm sure, scouting that, takes advantage of that here moving forward. So I like Washington to score in the first period. Of course, that's the angle, 14-5, team that lost the previous game. But I'm going to go one step further, and FanDuel and BetMGM have these options. Washington first goal of the first period, I think, is definitely a good way to go about it. This is the only team I'm doing this for. I'm not doing this with LA or Carolina or Winnipeg. I'm doing it with Washington, though. First goal of the first period, which, believe it or not, even though they lost 6-3 Friday night, they did get the first goal of the game and of the first period and took that 1-0 lead early on Friday night. So I will take that as well. Washington first goal of first period. You can find it at FanDuel or BetMGM. Washington to score a goal in the first period, and over by Fecta here, Caps and Habs. Full game, though, I lean Montreal still just because of that building. I'm not laying a price full game money line with Washington in that building, and just how incredible that Bell Center and how much of a boost it's been for this Montreal team. But I'd expect a big pushback here from the Capitals. Alex, what do you think here, Washington, Montreal?
Yes, it's a game with mostly live circles. Like I said, with those totals, that is something I would be waiting. I want to see the pace. I want to see what the environment. We know it's going to be raucous. Maybe a little chippy. We saw, maybe see some of that carryover from the last game as well. So could be maybe some penalties. Maybe the refs try to corral things if it gets out of hand. So I want to see where that pace goes before I jump in with the total. Now I will be on, of course, same thing that you are. Caps to score first goal. I got that minus 120 last night. Caps to score first goal in first period. That's plus money. I got plus 120 with that as well. So like I said, MGM and FanDuel both offer those options. And the trickle down effect, something to just kind of keep a note on. I know we have some people in the chat who do bet on AHL, but now with Caden Primo being called up to back up Dobish, he's not going to be taken out, obviously, of that series that starts with Laval going up against Cleveland. So that's just something to make a little note of. Cleveland, I know, has been on a little bit of a roll, so maybe able to make some money there by the way of the fact of their goalie being up with the big club in Montreal. But like I said, Dobish has got to figure out how to stop these high top shots, and like you said, work with and expect his tendency expectations. If the Caps exploit that, this game could get out of hand. So, like I said, I'll be looking more things live, but right there with you, Caps score first goal and Caps score first in the first period.
All right, there you go. Good stuff there. I like both of those looks there as well. And like I said, I like Washington early. I'm a little fearful of that full game, though. Again, just because we saw Montreal battle back, multiple times against Washington. And that crowd fuels you as much as any home crowd can fuel a home team in these Stanley Cup playoffs with just how great it's been, obviously, for the Montreal Canadiens. That's why I'm more liking the looks early. Would I be shocked if Washington wins this game and goes up 3-1? No, I wouldn't. But I'm a little leery of laying minus 130 against that team in that building. That's why I like the early looks more with Washington to get that first goal of the first period, get the goal in the first period overall. And as far as props go for this game with the Caps and the Habs, when you look at the Dylan Strome's been a point scoring machine. Now it's too big of a price, so what you should do here probably with him is take the goal and the assist, split it up, and obviously if one hits, you're going to be profitable because they're both plus money. But yeah, Dylan Strome for Washington's been automatic. He's on a 6-game point streak. He scored a point in every game in this series for Washington. Connor McMichael, I think he's a good player to look at. He continues to be noticeable. He's getting in Montreal's grill. He's been chipping in goals, points, 2-game point streak for McMichael, a 2-game goal streak for him as well. 2-game goal streak for Christian Dvorak as well for the Montreal Canadiens. So there's a little value too right now with what he is doing here for the Montreal Canadiens of late. No question about that. Aaron's saying Alexei Protas. I heard game time for him. But there is a chance
he was skating
play.
this morning, though. He was skating this morning, and then, of course, Logan Thompson skated this morning. Those are two things I saw. So
he's probably playing then. That's my guess, unless there's a setback. But to me, 9 times out of 10, you're skating in the morning skate. You're playing. You're in the lineup. So, and that is huge, obviously, for Washington. This is a guy that's had a breakout season. I think people sleep on how good he had been this year for the Capitals. Alexei Protas, 30 goals, 36 assists, 66 points in 76 games. We're talking about almost a point per game for him this year with the Capitals. So it would be a huge boost for the Caps if he does play, and it's trending that way, at least right now, based on what we saw at Capitals morning skate tonight. I still think Tom Wilson's going to find the back of the net, and wouldn't it be something for it to happen tonight after the big melee with him and Anderson the other night? I wouldn't be shocked by that. So Tom Wilson maybe tonight for the Capitals as well might be worth a look. All right, our last game of this Sunday slate, LA Kings, Edmonton Oilers. LA still up 2-1 in the series despite a big third period for the Oilers to take game 3. Edmonton minus 140, home favorites. The total here, 6.5. Adios 5.5. It was nice knowing you in this series. Finally, the adjustment's been made, but I'm still on the over 6. And I did find a 6 shop around. There are only a couple of books that still have 6 now. But I did find a 6 over minus 125 in this game. I'm still betting it, obviously. I mean, this series is now 17-4 for the over 5.5, but that still means 17 of the 21 previous playoff games in the last 4 years between LA and Edmonton have hit at least 6. So even if you bet over 6 and it lands 6, you're going to push, worst case scenario. So still like the over here. Obviously, we're not going to see the 5.5s probably ever again, and this is about damn time. It's amazing it took until game 4 for a proper adjustment to be made as far as the totals, but finally it was. Live 5.5s an option, Aaron, 100%. That is definitely something to look at too. You can take your chances that there's maybe finally for a change, not an early goal in the first period, and get 5.5 live. That's certainly a great strategy, in my opinion. I'm on Los Angeles to score a goal in the first period here in this game. We'll see. We'll reevaluate where things are at in the intermission because I'm very tempted to take Los Angeles money line full game here. Even though we've talked about how Edmonton needs to hold serve at home, to have any chance in this series, knowing LA's dominance at home and also knowing LA not quite the same team this year on the road, but still LA, that was a empty the gas tank effort in game 3. And they were still trailing in the third period of that game, despite it being an empty the gas tank spot for the Oilers. So that's why I have a hard time believing, that it's I'm certainly not laying minus 140 with Edmonton, but I'm interested in LA. I think LA showed you even in the loss in game 3, their game was good enough to maybe get a win here in Edmonton. Now, I am concerned about Kemper and his demeanor. He was a little wound up. He was John with the Oiler players. He was John with the refs. He's got to just take a deep breath, calm down, and get back to the Darcy Kemper we know. And there's some concerns there, Alex. 5 goals allowed now by Kemper, 2 of the 3 games. It's still not as bad as the travesty defensively the Oilers have been. And Pickard and Skinner, you don't trust them, obviously. And the D has been not good. Even in the win, the defense wasn't that great for the Oilers in game 3. But like I said, Kemper's got to just take a deep breath. It's okay. Stay composed, and believe you're the best goaltender in this series because you truly are. And just, relax and let the team in front of you, and the team in front of them has to do a little bit better job than they did at obviously third period of game 1 and game 3 stand out. Kings do have to clean some things up defensively, although it's not easy against Edmonton when McDavid and Draisaitl and Hyman and Evander Kane, let's give him credit. He had a great game 3 for Edmonton, and Bouchard finally got going offensively and the power play started to click. It's not easy, but LA's just got to relax, play their game, get back to boxing out, keeping everything to the outside like they did for extended portions of game 1 and game 2 of this series. We'll see if they can. I'm on full game over, LA to score a goal in the first period in this one, and we'll go from there as far as what we do in game. I'm telling you right now, though, as far as money line goes, I could only take LA plus 120 here in this game. I'm very tempted by LA team total over 2.5. Now, I don't like the price, minus 160. I'm going to wait a couple minutes and get a better number than that. LA, is it really asking a lot based on what we've seen, home or away in this series, to score 3 goals? I don't think so. They've had no problem doing it. They've only scored 6, 6, and 4. A grand total of 16 goals in 3 games, easily getting 3 goals in each game. Hell, you could even take an alternative Kings team total over 3.5 right now at a pregame at a plus money instead of waiting for the 2.5 to drop a little bit like I will. I mean, they've scored 4 goals or more in every game in this series, even in the loss against Edmonton the other night. So I think there's still great value, Kings team total over. I'm going to be betting it in some form, put it that way. Alex, what do you think here? Game 4, this is a good one. It's a swing game in this series, LA, Edmonton.
Yeah, it's a massive swing game, really, because you either have Edmonton tie this series up at 2 apiece and make it a best of 3, or you have LA could possibly just be able to wrap this one up at home, going back for game 5, and that's I obviously went through my rant the other day, and I'm pot committed now in LA throughout the series. I've got my at 4-0 drop, 4-1, 4-2 still alive, and along with a couple other series plays. This is one that I'll be kind of, like I said, pacing a little bit live. What I do like, though, is the empty net looks. Empty net goal plus 115, and I'm going with Kings plus 340 to get an empty net goal here. I think this game, I'm not ready to pull the trigger on under yet, even with 6.5, and also shop around because there's still 6s around. So if you like over, you can get 6. If you do like under, this is minus 115 at Caesars, some 120s at some other domestic books. My gut is telling me to go under in this game. I think this one could slow down a bit. And like I said, Kemper's got to get back into form. Pickard's got to, find his form and get back to it. This wouldn't shock me one bit if it's a 2-2 game late. Then that's where I could see LA maybe getting the best of Pickard. We saw that the energy and pace that they played with in that third period in last game before, of course, the calls and the goals and all that. So this is a LA Kings team. They won't be intimidated by that environment in any sense of the way. I can see them getting the win late. So we're going. That's how the way I'll play it. Not even going to bother with just plus 120. Just going to go Kings to get an empty net goal plus 340, an empty net goal to occur plus 115, and then we'll just roll from there.
All right, I like it. There we go. The empty net goals is a great market. It's a really, really great market, and certainly Alex has been certainly taking advantage of that. Prop-wise in this game, Kempe is obviously the guy that's on just a ridiculous point streak. It's now 7 games going back to the regular season, including every game in this year. How about Philip Deneau? This could be one of the value point prop bets of the entire day. He's scored a point in every game in this series, and he's just been either goal or an assist, and it's plus 140 at some books for him to get a point in this game for the LA Kings. Phil Deneau. So keep an eye on that. Fiala has scored a goal in every game in this series, as has Anze Kopitar as well. So definitely there's some looks I like. I'm going to go back to the Fogue Daddy for goal prop. I just have a hard time. He had a great chance. He got robbed by a Pickard. I think it was on a breakaway early in game 3. But Fogue Daddy had a great chance. I still think he's going to find a goal here in Edmonton in this series, the former Oilers. So Warren Fogle, Quentin Byfield, I think he comes back after the loss the other night, finds the back of the net. Kuzmenko's been good with Kopitar and Kempe, and he's been a dynamo on the power play. So some good prop options here for LA. For Edmonton, Nugent Hopkins, Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman. There's probably some value with the Nugent. He finally got off the schneid and scored early in game 3, so probably some value there. Arvidsson, Podkolzin, and Draisaitl. I think Evander Kane. He showed me, and Connor Brown with Henrique. Either of those two guys. Brown scored the last game. He always gives you a good effort. And Evander Kane used that physical frame of his in front of the net, and he had a great game in game 3. So maybe Evander Kane is going to go on a little bit of a run. Remember the
will he shoot it or kick it this time?
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, don't make it that close. Make it a little bit more easy to detect next time that you got the stick on the puck for sure. If you're Evander Kane. Shout out to the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. A reminder, we made the announcement earlier on the show. Our betcast this week, our next one, Thursday, May the 1st. Time to be determined. It is a Patreon exclusive live betcast. Make sure you don't miss out on it. And to do that, to not miss out on it, make sure you sign up at patreon.com/iceguys. Goalie charts, totals charts, our daily betting card, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. And again, of course, access to all the remaining Patreon exclusive live betcasts throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs, including this Thursday. So check it out. Just $10 per month. Patreon.com/iceguys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. You got 2 days left to save 20% off of all items in the store. Just go and click on the redeem button at the homepage, add your items to your cart, and 20% will be taken off at checkout. We got a lot of great looks, a lot of great items, so don't miss out. 2 days left, 20% off. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Check it out and get on board before that expires. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guy sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Hey, Ian, I got to tell you about this app I've been using lately called Kalshi. Kalshi.com. Did you know it's the only place where you can trade on March Madness in all 50 U.S. states?
I have heard about this, actually. Kalshi is the first and only legal prediction market that lets you trade on real-world events with the look and feel of stock trading, whether it's who will win elections, who will win the Grammy or Oscar awards, or what the price of Bitcoin will hit this year. You can bet you trade on just about anything on Kalshi.
With over 1 million users across all 50 states and over $1 billion worth of trades, Kalshi is an absolute game changer. And with March Madness coming to a close, baseball about to get in the full swing, playoffs on the horizon in hockey and basketball, now's the time to sign up to trade with Kalshi today.
Sign up at kalshi.com/iceguys, and the first 500 traders to join and trade 100 contracts, you will get a free $10 credit added to your account. So don't miss out on all the action. Join Kalshi today at kalshi.com/iceguys. That's kalshi.com/iceguys. Shout out to all our great sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc., 20% off using the promo code IceGuys, and kalshi.com/iceguys. Check out that great trading platform. All right, bargain bin special of the night. I got a big act to follow up. Holy shit, 2-0. Are you kidding? Marcus Foligno, Gabe Landeskog, thank you yesterday. See if we can follow that up. But first, Alex, to you, bargain bin special.
Yeah, we'll go to Edmonton, LA, and one of the members of the Kings that you mentioned is going to have to step up. He's been playing well, Anze Kopitar. I like him to get 2 or more points. You can get that at FanDuel plus 350. So Anze Kopitar over 1.5 points plus 350 at FanDuel. It's my Sunday bargain bin special.
And he's one of those point streakers we talked about during that game. He's been on an incredible run as far as points for the LA Kings, and we'll see if that continues here today. So there you have it from Alex B. Smith. Anze Kopitar for bargain bin special of the night, over 1.5 points. My bargain bin special, this is about to go off, but I'm going to give you 2 because it's about to go off. Adam Lowry, Winnipeg, plus 800 in a big spot for his team off a blowout loss. I expect the captain to show up. So there you go. There's one bargain bin special for this card. And the other bargain bin special that I like here for this card is it's right on the nose at plus 300 at Bet365. Connor McMichael. This guy, I'm telling you what, he's a thorn in Montreal's side right now. He's heating up. He's going to the areas to score goals and in a big spot for Washington, trying to bounce back. I think Connor McMichael keeps it going for the Capitals. So Adam Lowry plus 800 for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor McMichael for the Washington Capitals plus 300 later on. So there you go. 2 bargain bin specials of the night for me for this Sunday. And we'll see if we can hit another 2-0 sweep. I'll be doing a dance. I mean, that's what I'd be doing if somehow that happens for a second straight day. All right, best bets, Alex, to wrap things up. Where puck drop is just a moment away in St. Louis, so good timing on this to wrap things up. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Yeah, let's go to the Bell Center where we know it's going to be an absolutely electric crowd. And one of the ways you win games on the road in the Stanley Cup playoffs is by taking the crowd out of it, by scoring early. I expect the Washington Capitals to do that. So give me Washington first goal of the first period plus 120. That's my Sunday best bet.
Go. It's a bet that's on my card as well. Washington first goal of first period for Alex B. Smith there for his best bet. My best bet for this card, I'm going to give this bet out pregame right now. But I want to warn you that I've bet a little small chunk of it pregame with the intention of I'm going to add more to it if the number falls in the first period. but I'm going to take that Los Angeles Kings team total over 2.5. I can't justify not taking it. They have scored at least 4 goals in every game. They're the team coming off the loss, obviously, in Game 3. The Oilers' defense remains an issue when you have the likes of Klingberg on it, and a struggling Bouchard, and you just go on down the list. Not a great blue line, and they miss Matthias Ekholm dearly. And the Kings have had no problem with their power play, finding the back of the net. They've had no problem scoring goals. They've scored 16 in 3 games. They've scored 4 goals in every game so far in this series. The first period goal for the LA Kings is too pricey to make it best bet material, but the team total is good enough. We will take that for best bet here for this card. -145, the best price right now available. Los Angeles Kings team total over 2.5, -145 for my my best bet here for this Sunday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Another quadruple header of hockey. So excited about it and looking forward to these games once again today. We hope you enjoy them and cash some tickets in the process as well. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will be back with you tomorrow on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.